What do you think of the studio?
I love it.
This is the room that Maci and I used to breed snakes in. If you saw one of our other videos together, you know the story, but we converted it into our studio and I think it turned out pretty cool.
Me too.
Yeah. So today Maci and I are going to talk about, we're going to do another conversation in Autism Siblings Edition, and we're going to talk a little bit about what school is like as the two of you. Mm-hmm. And so Maci's 2 years older than Max, and so they're 2 grades apart, which meant they spent most of elementary school together, and then just 1 year in
1 year in middle school.
1 year in middle school.
Yeah. And
so you were a freshman in high school this last school year, and COVID was like kind of messed everything up. So you were home. Max was kind of back and forth, but. Let's talk a little bit. We're going to talk mostly about junior high, but I do have some questions about elementary school. And so what this conversation means to me is basically helping you and other families that deal with the similar stuff to process what life is like and what transitions are like and what it's like for a neurotypical sibling, and then maybe a little bit of advice that we might be able to share, or Maci will be able to share, because in my opinion, Maci's a professional at it. So let's talk first a little bit about elementary school. We noticed pretty early on, if you watched one of the other videos that Maci and I did together, we told the story about how really, really early on she was super influential in his life with his speech and language development. And so we're not going to tell that story again, but let's talk a little bit about what it was like in elementary school. Did you guys see each other that much?
Not very often. We only saw each other at recess and then occasionally at lunch, I think.
Okay. What was recess like?
He kind of mostly did his own thing. Would go off into a corner and hang out by himself, or...
So he didn't have a ton of friends, or at least people that like did stuff his speed?
Right.
Okay. So how'd that make you feel, seeing that?
Just kind of made me sad. Like I wanted him to be included and hang out with his friends.
Yeah. Did you ever do anything about it?
Yeah. Me and my friends, sometimes we'd go over and hang out with him or ask him if he wanted to play with us.
And did he?
Not really.
So it's almost like he didn't mind being alone.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a very social person, it's hard to watch your brother be alone because that's not how you operate. You like to be social.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there were times when he needed you. I know for a fact, and so I'm hopefully you're going to answer the question the way I expect you to. But I recall some times where it was just too much for him to be doing whatever at school, and he needed a timeout. Do you remember those times? Talk me through it.
So I don't really know what was happening in the classroom, but he would get sent down to the counselor's office, and he was pretty good buddies with the counselor, so he'd just go hang out in the counselor's office. But sometimes he'd be having like a meltdown or something, and so the counselor would call me down, and I would just try to like calm him down or talk him through it. But
did he calm down?
I think so, most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't remember it very well, but...
So really in elementary school, it was primarily just helping him process recess if he needed it, and then...
If he needed it, yeah.
And then running to the counselor's office to help him
calm down,
adjust his attitude. Yeah, that's pretty rad. So the biggest thing for me watching you with him at school was middle school. And we noticed right away that Maci was going to be paramount in Max's middle school success. Talk us through the very first day. So, mind you, Jamie and I were terribly nervous because how many classes? 6 or 7? 6 on any one day?
I think 7.
Okay, so
I think, yeah.
big school, 3 levels, lots of stairs, lots of classrooms, hallways, 3 times the amount of people. And so Jamie and I were a little nervous about sending him into that because he's at this point pretty much fully mainstreamed. Wasn't being taken out for any special services or anything, and so had some sort of special classes, but still had to get to them, and couldn't interrupt his schedule like he could in elementary school if he needed a break, and he had his safe places and stuff. But so I still laugh about that. Talk us through the first day, or even the first week.
Well, I mean, Max was really nervous on the first day of school, and he didn't want to walk by himself in the hall at all on the first day of school. So, I don't remember it very well, but
I remember
I
hearing
can't remember
that
how it came up, but
you were tardy to every single class for the first 3 days because
I would have to go get him from his last class and then take him to his next class and then go to my class.
Yeah. Luckily, we live in a small town, smaller school district, and everybody knew that when Maci said, "Hey, I was helping my brother," everybody knew.
All my teachers understood.
They understood. But the wildest thing happened in middle school. While Max was totally content and may be still totally content to be alone and to hang out by himself and to play, just do his own thing and go stim in a corner somewhere. What happened socially?
Socially?
Yeah, who he became.
He became the popular kid in middle school.
Yeah.
Everybody, there was a couple times where I'd be walking with him, and probably at least 5 people would high-five him or say, "Hi, Max." And I'm just like, dude, how do you know this many people?
And when we would go, Jamie and I would do his IEP meetings, the teachers would say, "Max is a total rock star. He's the most popular kid in my class," and things like this. And we're like, what are you talking about? That's not Max. And I don't know if what he did to earn rock star status.
I don't know.
But it obviously warmed all of our hearts because it was just neat to hear the stories that everybody likes Max and thinks he's a cool kid. So talk to me about some of the lunches at middle school.
Lunch was kind of like recess in elementary school. For most of the year, he would just sit by himself at lunch. He'd go find a corner and sit by himself at a table. But I think it was the first week or so at school, he didn't want to be alone. And so either he would come sit with me and my friends, or I would notice that he was looking for a spot all by himself, and I would go over and help him and maybe sit with him for a little bit. But he didn't want to be alone for the first 3 days, and then he kind of got more independent and then started sitting by himself.
Yeah. So that is, I think, the biggest point and the biggest takeaway of this conversation is I feel like we're willing to sacrifice your own social place with your friends and your own social environment to make sure Max was doing okay. So did any of your willingness to make sure your brother was comfortable, did it have an effect on any of your friends or friendships?
I don't think so. I think most of my friends, all of my friends mostly understood the situation. So if I left my table with my friends to go talk to Max, they would be like, "Oh, she needs to go talk to Max." It wouldn't be like, "Oh, she's ditching us." Yeah. They understood the situation.
Okay. I feel like also that you are a pretty solid caliber person and you choose pretty solid caliber friends. And especially the friends that come around our house, they all like Max and respect the special care that he needs and stuff. And to the point where we lately have had to be careful who we invite over, because Max has a crush on one particular friend.
Yep.
And so had to be kind of, because when Max gets interested in something, he's all in. And so
Always talking about it.
yeah, and it's to the point where dude, chill.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And so but I just think it's the coolest that you have been who you are to Max, given our family situation, given your social environment, given the fact that you don't have to do any of this stuff and you choose to do it. You choose to be an awesome big sister, and it comes naturally to you. I always say God knew what he was doing because he put you in the family and you were first before Max so that you could, guide and lead him. And I'm super thankful for you. Shoot, I didn't realize I was gonna do that. What advice would you give a neurotypical sibling in your situation with as a sibling of somebody like Max? What kind of advice do you have when it comes to the social stuff and maybe school and just navigating growing up?
I think, not saying that you need to be hanging out with them 24/7, but just checking up on them every once in a while, just to see how they're doing, and maybe ask them if they want to hang out or engage if they're not. Just make sure they're doing all right every once in a while.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we pointed out is choose your friends wisely.
Right.
And you have good quality friends that understand the situation, and it's never been something that has affected your relationships with your friends. And so choose your friends wisely. If you're a neurotypical sibling,
Right.
choose understanding friends. Hang out with people that understand your brother or sister and understand that it's gonna be a little different.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think that I didn't mention that is incredibly important is you're very secure in who you are. It doesn't seem like you care a lot or care too much about what people think. And so when Max is being weird or stimming at school and doing different things, I feel like you don't really care that he's different, and that's just fine, and I love him, and you actually don't just accept it, but you encourage it. And I feel like you play right along with some of that stuff, and so that I think is super important. Be secure in yourself as that neurotypical sibling. Be secure in who you are. Don't bother with the bullies. Don't bother with the people that laugh or look weird at your sibling and the odd things that they might do. I think that, and that's a hard one, because that takes good parenting. It takes time. It takes growing up in an environment where there's a lot of encouragement, but do your best at being secure and not caring what other people think when it comes to having a sibling that doesn't fit society's normal roles. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm sorry for crying and making you cry.
It's okay.
But again, I think you're pretty special. I think you're pretty awesome. Thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys on the next one.